Welcome to Just Relationships, the show that offers you concrete ways to make your relationships better. Whether it's your boss, your spouse, your children, or your friends, the quality of your relationships in life directly affects how you feel about yourself and the success you achieve. Your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer, a psychotherapist, telecoach, author, and seminar leader, will interview top experts to help you learn to manage this essential part of your life. And now, here's your host, Dr. Duffy Spencer.
Greetings. If you listened to last week's show, you know you are in for a treat because I am interviewing Dr. David Hawkins, author of Why Marriage Counseling Fails and What on Earth to Do. Is it the marriage that is the problem? Is it the counselor that's the problem? And I do think it's both. And welcome back, Dr. David Hawkins.
Thank you, Dr. Duffy. Great to be with you.
Thank you so much. We had a wonderful time last week.
Absolutely, we did.
Two marital therapists talking to each other. And the people who are listening in, I hope you're getting a lot out of this because we all want love and connection. We want security. We want lifelong love and someone there for us in our old age, in our times of trouble and darkness. And yet people so reflexively bring so many of their demons. You mentioned last week about the baggages. People come to marital counseling with baggages that they want to just dump, not even unpack, but dump.
Yes.
And it's natural for human beings to conflict. But in my words, a feeling phobic society, we're taught if you love each other, you don't have serious conflicts. Everything is bland, which it's hard to believe that people still believe that. And then, therefore, when it comes to inevitable conflict, they don't have a clue as to how to handle it. And Dr. David Hawkins, even if they have learned skills, when you're upset, it's so easy to have the skills fly out the window.
That's right.
That's another problem, isn't it?
Well, you mentioned, the primitive brain, we're triggered and then, you jokingly said our mate is not the saber-toothed tiger. Boy, yeah. It sure seems like it at that moment. It sure seems like it.
Right.
I have to. So I think it's critical. We mentioned this last time. I think it's critical to watch that yellow light, even when that yellow light starts to come on, and we've got a little bit of control still. We really can, at that moment, tap the brakes instead of barreling through the intersection. We can tap the brakes, and we should tap the brakes. And with practice, we know that we can tap the brakes, and then, and then bring our best selves, our objective selves, our adult selves to the conversation. But if we barrel on through, boy, we're all capable of doing pretty crummy things. And then no surprise that the relationship suffers.
I love how you put that, Dr. Hawkins. There's still time in the very beginning of the yellow light.
Still time.
Have a little bit of control, and especially if you know about the body and that our bodies are a defense system built for threat, and our bodies have not changed since our ancestral days. And unfortunately, we know how prevalent violence is in the world anyway. So this part is not going to go away. We're not going to evolve out of it.
Oh, good word.
So, yes. So we have to deal with it. And Dr. Daniel Goleman, of course, talks about the amygdala hijack, and you can just head it off at the pass. Yeah. But it takes such keen observation. And I also find that most Americans, and I'm only going to say America, I'm only an expert in American society, but live above the neck. We're taught as adults to be cognitive, to be thinking people, and ignore our bodies, except maybe visit our genitals now and then, but not to live our lives in an embodied way. Most of us do not live our lives in an embodied way. So how can we tell when we're triggered if we're not aware of our bodies?
Yeah, well, it takes practice. It takes practice. Yes. It takes tuning into our bodies. And once, though, what I found with couples, Dr. Duffy, is once they begin practicing, I call it the shift. A lot of people use words like triggered and so on. But I've found that once a couple or individuals, when they start to become more aware of the shift or being triggered, then they even start using that language. Oh, I'm feeling triggered. Okay. Let's honor that. Yeah, that's okay. Or even this is a little more difficult, but even if they can do that with and for each other a bit. Now that takes that's got to be done cautiously, but being able to say, I sense that you're struggling right now, or I sense that you're getting upset, whatever. So being able to, having a mutual respect and a mutual yellow light system is so important.
Beautiful. So tell us more about what you mean by the shift.
So the shift is when our amygdala gets triggered and we're in fight or flight or freeze, and we become aware of that at some level, that, boy, we're tempted to, whatever our typical long-term pathway is. For many, it's fighting, and I'm going to come at you. For many, it's also flighting. I'm out of here. I'm done. Or some just, deer in the headlight, freeze. Anyway, being aware. So awareness, boy, there is no shortcut, Dr. Duffy, to being aware. So I teach couples. I think couples have to be aware of me, she, he, we, all at the same time, and we can do it. So in other words, I'm aware of what's happening in me. I'm aware of what's happening in you, apparently. Of course, I'm not, I don't know what is going on exactly. And then I'm watching, how is our cadence? How are we, is this a lovely talk? Or is this, no, da. Okay. Anyway, and if it's a fight, somebody smarter than me said you don't have to attend to every fight you're invited to.
Right.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I want to take a break. We got to keep talking. No, we don't.
But
I'll be back
David,
in half an hour.
Right, exactly. That's what I wanted to say, that if we need that pause, we need that break, we have to say that rather than storm out the door. Because that sets up the abandonment. I need a break. Give me 5 minutes. Give me a half an hour. I need to just breathe and process. And I know I'm triggered, and I know that, and you and I know that the adrenaline just spurts into our body, and we're literally 20% physically stronger to help us fight or flee. Literally.
Right.
And what do we do with that extra strength when we're not going to punch out our spouse and we're not going to run like the Dickens?
Yep.
Well, that adrenaline can stay in our bodies if we keep ruminating and obsessing. I can't believe she did that. I can't believe it. What nerve? I can't believe it. Yeah. So, Dr. David Hawkins, why marriage counseling fails. So the couple has gone to the therapist, and then how do so many marriage counselors not do right by the couples?
Well, so as you know, I've got some pretty strong thoughts and opinions about all of that, and that is it is this. I think that marriage counseling is such an important art and skill, and not every therapist has it. Unfortunately, and this is a generalization, Dr. Duffy, but most of us come out into practice. And when you look at someone's bio, and I know I'm poking at a few people here, but their bio says, I do it all. I do it all. I do anxiety, I do depression, I do children, I do couples, I do families, I do individuals. I do relationship stress. I do management. I do it all.
Yeah.
You know, boy, oh boy, the more that I specialize in doing marriage work, the more I realize, holy cow, for 30 years when I was saying I do it all, all. Whatever you got, come in the door. Now, could I do it with some expertise? With some. But you mentioned, so the trained marriage counselor, they know about Dr. Gottman. They know about EFT, emotion-focused couples counseling. They know about Hart's work, internal family systems.
And Harville Hendricks, Imago. They know about that too. Yes.
Excuse me. So they know about these, and so they specialize. So I think of it this way, and again, I'm stepping on toes, but if you go to a generalist for your in-depth, complicated, incredibly complicated marriage work, then you are going to a family practitioner in the medical field for brain. Can that family doctor, can they do some for you? Of course they can. They've got a medical degree. But you would never do that. If you're a child, you go to a pediatrician. If you've got heart issues, you go to cardiologist. If you've got kidney problems, you go to I think it's a nephrologist. I forget what it is, nephrologist. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You go to a specialist.
Right.
So why don't we do that in our fields? Because we go into practice and then we think we can do everything. Anyway, so
very important point. Yes.
So when you're choosing, so now we're talking to the couple. So when you are looking for someone, boy, oh boy, number one, make sure they have experience. Make sure they've been doing this for a long, long time. If they've been doing it a long time, they probably know about Gottman and Hendricks and Sue Johnson.
And Sue Johnson and Schwartz and all of those. Yes.
They know these names. They know Rosenberg. They know nonviolent communication.
Oh, yeah. I love Rosenberg. Yes.
And they have sorted out a Gottman trained counsel. Anyway, they've got some, and then they become proficient at it.
Yes.
So, my cardiologist has been doing it for 30 years. That's what I want. All right. So, and then we want someone who's trained. We want someone who's energetic. Look, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and I'm going to help you. I've got time. I've got interest. I've got energy, and I'm going to do my best to help you. As opposed to someone who just is looking at the clock, and there's too many clinicians that are looking at that 45, 50-minute hour, and then they say,
okay,
come on
time's
back.
up.
Or in 2 weeks. Like, really?
Yeah.
You're gonna take my in-depth couples problems and you're gonna squeeze them into a 50-minute session, and then I'm gonna come back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and we're gonna do it again? I don't think so.
No. So Dr. David Hawkins, do you give longer sessions? Is that how you frame it?
More and more and more. More and more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I tell a couple, look, you folks are going to need as much work as I can give you, much time. I know there's cost involved. I know you've got what's going on, but let's look at a 2-hour session. Let's look at a 3-hour session. Let's build into our work a marriage intensive. And you're familiar with a marriage intensive. More and more clinicians that specialize in marriage counseling are doing 2-day and 3-day intensives, which I've done hundreds and hundreds of. And once you do, I don't know if you've had any experience with that, but once you work with a couple for 2 or 3 days, it's very hard to go back to a 45-minute session. So
yes. Well, I give double sessions for that reason. With an individual, you can do 45, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, no, I have never personally done an intensive of 2 or 3 days. That's a wonderful thing. I would love to do that.
You will. It's like taking a couple, sending a couple. It's like going to the Mayo Clinic. Days you see it all. And when I say you see it all, you got to look at my eyebrows here because, like, oh, okay. I didn't know that there was that going on in this relationship, and that,
right, and that, and that, and that.
And that, and that, and that. And okay, now we'll bring our skills of listening and empathy and validation, and we'll hone those skills. But now we've got some more serious problems to bring to those skills. And we've developed those skills. So let's go ahead. And then at the end of the 3 days, it's not magical, but wonderful things happen. Wonderful things happen. So
the
breakthroughs. Yes.
I talk to my clients about vulnerability. It's so important to be vulnerable. And a lot of people don't even have a clue of what that means.
Right.
And it is so scary. And yet, as you said in the last show, it's so endearing when someone can tell their truth and say, I'm scared you'll leave me. You can get a woman because of ageism and sexism 20 years younger. And why would you stay with old me?
Yeah.
Who's giving you a hard time on top of it.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
And do you want to stay? Do we have enough love in us? Can we resurrect? Because what happens in my experience is that couples don't experience a felt sense of loving the other because there's so many things in the way, all these numbing parts and hopeless parts and resentful parts. But I tell them, did you love each other at one point? And what did you want originally? And where are you now? And let's look at this hopeless part. Mm-hmm. And let's see what that's about.
You bring up a phrase, you didn't say it quite like this, but to feel felt. I forget who came up with that, but
yes, I love that.
To feel felt or to have a felt sense. It's so good. And fairly quickly, a couple can get there. If you put the defenses down and breathe and just get into your vulnerable self and speak vulnerably. Okay, wow, we can sit knee to knee. And if we take one issue at a time and unpack it, and anyway, so finding a clinician, finding a skilled marriage counselor where you can walk in the door and you feel like, okay, they've got the skills, they've got the time, they've got the energy, they've got the interest. And you're not just going to give me a handout and go, okay, or here, go read the book. And then next week that's good. But good marriage counseling.
It's not enough. It's not enough.
It takes more
and really go for it. Not just look for somebody on your insurance list. I mean, really, really go for it. Get recommendations.
Yes.
And that. Because as we know, it's the therapeutic alliance that is the major variable in successful counseling. So do I trust this person? And I love how you put that. Do I have the skills, the time, the energy, the interest? Yes.
And can you give this couple a good course of action? I am finding, I don't know whether it's me or them, but more and more, couples are looking to me. They're saying they're walking in the door, much like I walk in the door of my physician. Tell me what we need to do. Please give me some direction.
Right.
So that goes against our Rogerian training of tell me more.
A good listener. Yes.
But I'm finding couples are saying, thank you for listening. Please give us 3 things to work on this week. And then when we come back next time, please ask us how we did with those 3 things. And then let's build on those 3 things. And then the next time, please ask us what we did with the first 3 and the second 3. Come on, let's
make us accountable, right? Accountable.
But there's probably some clinicians that are going like, whoa, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, yes. It is a lot of work. So in my opinion, the skilled marriage counselor doesn't just say, tell me how the week went, as good as that is.
Yeah.
Just we want to know how the week went. I want to know, how did the week go? And how did you do with those 3 things?
Right.
And oh, by the way, I remember that last time we didn't quite finish blank. So why don't we follow up on that again?
Yes.
And what I noticed, Dr. Duffy, when I do that, when I say, I remember last time we didn't quite finish, people rightly look at me and say, thank you for remembering that. That's really good. That shows, they don't say it quite like this, but they say that shows that you're engaged.
You're engaged, you care, you hold us in your space, your heart.
Yes.
And good clinical notes. And I always write down any assignments I give.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's so easy to forget otherwise.
And folks will say that. They'll say, look, I know you've got a lot of people that you're working with, so you probably remember blank, blank, and blank. And sometimes that's true, and sometimes, thankfully, it's not true. No, I do remember.
Yes.
I remember you said this, and you said, and we were going to pick up that. So I would just say, I would say this to the clinicians watching. If you're going to specialize in marriage counseling, whatever you're doing, be the best you can be at that. And then, and then don't do something else. If you're going to do marriage counseling, then maybe you let some other part of your practice go, or you let the marriage, send your people to someone who this is all they do, or most of what they do.
Yes.
So
Dr. David Hawkins, we have just a couple of minutes left, would you believe, of a 2-part series. And by the way, everyone can download a podcast of Dr. David Hawkins. Just go to the WHPC app. And if you don't have one, just order one, a WHPC app. It's free. And go to Just Relationships and just scan down Dr. David Hawkins, or look at the various topics that you are interested in and let your friends know about this. Dr. David Hawkins, Why Marriage Counseling Fails. Is the problem the marriage or the counselor? So what can you leave our audience with, Dr. David Hawkins? People who are in relationship, obviously anyone listening to Just Relationships really cares about relationships, and anything you want to say to the audience directly?
I want to give encouragement. So I take piano lessons. Yes, I do. It's true. And I just started taking Spanish lessons. Yes, it's true. I won't tell you where I'm at with either of those, but I'm a learner. And you can be a learner. Anybody can. If you're in a relationship, my goodness sakes, get yourself a good relationship coach, and then be a learner like I am. I'm a learner, and you can be a learner. So good relationships require some ongoing training and skills at different times, more intensively. So seek out the best help that you can. Make sure there's a good fit, that you feel helped. You feel it. You feel like there's a therapeutic alliance, Dr. Duffy, you said. So you feel like you've locked arms with this person. They care about you. And it's just a good relationship, much like your dentist and your doctor, and make your relationship coach, your marriage counselor, part of the team, to be healthy and wholesome and happy. So that's the word. That's the encouragement for you.
That's the encouragement. And what, we have just a minute or two left. What about, so many people say to me, oh, you know, I have to work on this relationship. Now they're already feeling exhausted and depleted and fed up. And they come to you and you say, you have to work. Oh, I don't wanna. How do we get over this myth of, you know, you're not supposed, if you love someone, you shouldn't have to work at a relationship?
Well, you do have to work at it. I don't know that we have to underscore the word work. Because I don't think of my piano lessons and coaching, or my Spanish lessons and coaching. I don't think of that as work. It is work, but there can be a joy in learning and growing bigger and stronger and healthier. When you go to the gym, is that work? Well, it's work, but it's exciting, it's interesting, and you feel better. So couples counseling, you can feel better. It's not nobody's got a whip. Nobody's going to be chastising you, but they will be challenging you. And it's good to be challenged, and there's growth, and it feels very good.
And it feels very good. So Dr. David Hawkins, how do we get a hold of your book and your books? You have written extensively. Are they available everywhere?
Yeah, they're available everywhere. You know, Amazon is the best place. And then our website, marriagerecoverycenter.com, marriagerecoverycenter.com. Yeah.
And what's on your webpage, marriagerecoverycenter.com?
We've got all kinds of programs and ways to be helped, and programs for men, programs for women, programs for couples. So we've got a fairly comprehensive package for folks. Wow. Happy to help.
Thank you so much. I see that and I feel that. I have a felt sense of you, Dr. David Hawkins, and I can get to see you on Zoom, but of course our audience cannot. But what a treat. Will you come back?
Of course.
I'd love to invite you back.
That'd be wonderful.
You're so prolific, and thank you so much for all your writing to educate people about these important things, and for being my guest on Just Relationships. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is Dr. Duffy Spencer saying goodbye for now and wishing you great relationships.